What's up, sports? Welcome back to Talk Colada, presented by Boo Crew Media. Talk Colada, presented by Cody Collection. And we got a big game for you tonight. It's the Pelicans versus the Spurs in New Orleans at the Blender, the Smoothie King Center tonight. Boo Crew Media is doing a lot of big stuff today. They're going to be at the Rusty Nail, going live at 5 p.m. with Chris Connor, Jake Madison, Justin Napoli, all kinds of amazing people that are part of the Pels 12. As you know, the Pels 12 versus the world. The people on Twitter, absolutely just diehard Pelicans fans, analysts, podcasters, writers, contributors. And obviously we're going to have some folks from San Antonio coming in from the media side of things, from the fan side of things, those diehard San Antonio Spurs fans with Coach Pop and everything historically that comes from the Riverwalk and San Antonio and the championship history that they have coming to New Orleans in Blender tonight. We're really excited, and I'm excited on a long-time season ticket holder, at least 5 years, and a man who moved to San Antonio and absolutely just fell in love with the city, fell in love with the Spurs. So before the rivalry gets heated tonight for tip-off, I welcome to the show my good friend Jim Love. How are you?
Jack, I'm great. Thanks for having me. Greetings from sunny San Antonio, and wish I could have made the trip down I-10 to New Orleans for the game tonight, but that wasn't in the cards. But appreciate you having me on the show. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And first question for you. I don't think you were expecting this one, but I got to give a shout out to my friends over at H2O Salon and Spa. Who do you think has the best hair in the game tonight?
Well, Ronnie Walker used to have amazing hair, but he cut it about a year and a half ago. He's our great six-man swingman here for the Spurs, so I'd probably still give him the nod. But his hair was even more prolific back in the day, for sure.
No doubt, no doubt. And Jimbo, we are going to look at the starting lineups. As you know, if we talk any bets, Jim's not a gambling man. I'll throw out some stuff on Twitter, but all that stuff is presented by DraftKings. If you're just downloading the app, you can use the code BOOT and get $150 of free play after betting one $5 wager. So if you're a new user and you want to go with the right app, you go with DraftKings. And so we're going to make some predictions. Feel free to leave some comments. We'll answer some questions. But we're going to try to do all this in 21 minutes. So we're going to finish out at about 4:25. Again, keep up with Boo Crew Media on YouTube and all its social feeds, because they are going to be going live with some really, more impressive, more intensely focused analysts on the Pelicans than I am, right? I talk a lot of sports. I try to cover the Pelicans as much as possible, but I don't really need to, because our guys at Pro Pels Talk and at Boo Crew Media are absolutely killing that. But it's good to have some insight from San Antonio and a loyal Spurs fan. We were just up in San Antonio, watched a tough loss from the Spurs to the Warriors, but they fought even with some bigger names sitting out that game. But Jim, let's look at the starting lineups, and I want to see what you think about these guys. So first off, for your Spurs, we are looking at point guard DeJounte Murray, shooting guard Josh Primo, small forward Devin Vassell, power forward Keldon Johnson, and center Jakob Poeltl.
Yeah, our starting five showed a lot of heart this year. Derek White was one of our starters at the start of the year. He was traded to the Boston Celtics on deadline day. We had Doug McDermott in the starting lineup for most of the year, but he went down with an injury against the Pacers last month, and we kind of shut him down for the season. So we've actually seen Devin Vassell, who's a second-year swingman from Florida State, move into the starting five, and Josh Primo, our rookie, who happens to be the youngest player in the league at 19 years old, college teammate of Herb Jones. I see your T-shirt. So, he played at
Not
Alabama.
on Herb, baby. Not on Herb.
He played at Alabama for 1 year. He's raw. He's inexperienced. Definitely has made some mistakes throughout the year, but has shown a lot of promise. Had a game-saving block against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who was putting up a three at the buzzer. Of course, you probably shouldn't even let the Thunder be within a couple points at the end, but made a really clutch block. So Primo showed a lot of heart. Keldon Johnson, Olympic gold medalist for Coach Pop last summer in Tokyo, has scored 20 or more in 9 straight games, which is really exciting. I mean, he's kind of stepped up as our number 2 scoring guy. And then DeJounte Murray is the first player in NBA history to average 20 points, 8 boards, 9 assists, and 2 steals a game. Murray led the league in steals. Of course, Herb Jones, I'll mention him again, was right in the top 5 in steals per game. But, Murray's playing really well. And then Jakob Poeltl, I think that's a key matchup tonight. He's one of the better interior defenders in the NBA. But, of course, you guys have a starting center in Valanciunas who can spread the floor, and that gave us a little trouble. I had the unfortunate pleasure of being at the game here in San Antonio last month where Pop got tossed in the second quarter. I think he had seen enough, and you all beat us by 33. Valanciunas, just the first 6 minutes of that game, made 2 or 3 threes and got us all out of sorts. I mean, you all were leading by 20 after the first quarter. So, I think there's a lot of good talent in our starting 5. Our team's definitely, I think, overachieved, beaten expectations this year. You can obviously say the same about the Pels, especially with Zion being out. So definitely excited to see how we match up, and definitely want to hear your thoughts about your starting 5, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And before I jump into that, I do want to let you know, give your man Murray a pat on the back, but also give myself a small pat on the back, even though I don't think it's going to come true. Before the year started, I put $20 on DeJounte Murray to be the most improved player. And right now, looking at the odds, Ja Morant is the heavy favorite. Darius Garland from Cleveland is plus 600, and then Murray is plus 1,800. But I mean, that guy has obviously just over a year become such a an asset to any NBA team. I think he could go anywhere in the league and be dominant, but seems to love the city and love the guys he's working with and Coach Pop, right?
He's really embraced the city. He's embraced the leadership role this year. I mean, a lot of people don't know much about the Spurs this year. Tonight's our first national TV game of the entire year. So, last year we had DeMar DeRozan. We had Aldridge for most of the year before we bought him out. Of course, Patty Mills is a beloved player in the league. Rudy Gay is a savvy veteran. Those guys are all gone, and it became really Murray's team to lead. And he's obviously led on the court, but also off the court. First time All-Star this year, as an injury replacement for Draymond Green, and a well-deserved nod. I definitely do agree that Morant's probably the guy to beat for most improved player. I mean, that's what it sounds like the odds makers are saying. But Murray, should definitely be in the top 2 or 3 choices for that award. So that was a savvy wager you made preseason for sure.
Yep. Jessica Anderson, thanks for the love on the Not on Herb. Let's go Pels indeed. I know Jim disagrees, but hey, it's all in good fun, and and I mean, thanks to the NBA for allowing this play-in game to happen. Looking back a couple years, the Pels and the Spurs wouldn't be in this position. And just to remind everybody who may not know, the 7 and the 8 seed play, and they are not out if they lose. But for this game, the 9-10 game, this is a must-win. It's win or go home. And then if you win, you're not in the playoffs yet. You still have to beat the loser of the 7 and 8 game to get the 8 seed, right? So just to clarify that for everybody, because it is still very new. But yeah, so, go ahead.
No, and I'm glad that the Timberwolves beat the Clippers last night, and that the winner of this game gets to play the Clippers. That the Wolves gave us a ton of trouble all year. Karl Anthony Towns put up 60 on us just last month. We actually scored 139 and lost by 10. That's pretty hard to do in a regulation NBA game. But
right,
I think the Clippers for the Spurs would be a really fun matchup. I think there's a little extra motivation to bump Kawhi Leonard out of the playoffs. Obviously, he hasn't played all year, but just to knock his team out. So I was kind of glad to see the Timberwolves win, and that the winner of our game tonight will play the Clippers rather than Minnesota.
Yeah, I agree. Just jump into the starting 5 for the Pelicans. They're going with the same starting 5 they've been using since trading for CJ McCollum. Obviously, McCollum at 1, Ingram at 2, Herb Jones at 3, a.k.a. Not on Herb, and Jackson Hayes 4, Jonas Valanciunas 5. That is the projected starting lineup, which I like. And obviously, Zion Williamson is not going to be playing. But I wonder from a defensive standpoint, what is the biggest hurdle that the Spurs defense has to jump, in order to stop the dynamic duo of Fulham and Ingram? And then, and I know it's not the most powerful forward center combo, but Jackson Hayes seems to be a rising star, just a very athletic dude. And him being down low with Valanciunas, I think you guys have the defense to stop maybe that down low play. But then when you couple that with having to stop Ingram and McCollum, what do you think the Spurs need to do to stop these guys?
Obviously, you all made big moves at the deadline, getting CJ, one of the most world-class shooters in the league, and that creates some matchup problems. We definitely have some wings that can defend beyond the arc. I think Devin Vassell is really talented at defending the three. But I think one of the biggest challenges we have, and it really showed last time you all played us here. I know we won both previous matchups at the Smoothie King Center this year, or the Blender, if you will. But when you all were here, we were just very exposed by that 1-2 combo you have with the big guys. Hayes is just, one of the most athletic bigs in the NBA by far. He's been.
And remind me, have y'all played a game with? Have y'all played against the Pels with CJ McCollum? Just one, right?
Actually, I think 3 of the 4 this season were after the trade deadline, because we had one here. And then I think we played you all like within 2 or 3 days of that trade. And then I know we just played again about 2.5 weeks ago. So I think it's 3 out of the 4.
Okay.
Were when you all had McCollum. And, I just think Hayes is a tough matchup. Power forward's a weak position for us. We start Keldon Johnson at the 4. He's about 6'7", whereas your starting 3 is Herb Jones, who's a 6'7", just menace on defense.
Right.
And then Valanciunas, Pirtle is a really good defender. If the guys, Pirtle can give guys like Gobert actually a little more trouble than a guy like Valanciunas, who can step out beyond the arc. So I think we're going to need some big minutes from a guy like Zach Collins. He's kind of our backup big. And he's a 7-foot type guy, but a little more athletic than Pirtle. But Hayes, I think, is a guy that always concerns me. And then if McCollum gets hot, it's just going to be really difficult. And of course, I haven't even mentioned your all-star, your one-time all-star in Ingram. I know he's technically listed as probable for tonight, but of course he's going to play. He's not going to miss the game.
So, he's playing. And they had the Pels, I retweeted it today. They had him, playing prep video of him just absolutely wetting like 5 threes in a row. I think it was probably this morning, in the gym or doing some warm up. And our boy at Buca Media's brother, Kent McGuire, who does our fishing podcast, his brother Jordan McGuire is part of player personnel. I think he's an assistant coach or maybe a specific coach. I don't know his exact title, but he's on the coaching staff. And he's always the guys, one of the guys kind of rebounding with Ingram. So I think he's got kind of a cool connection with obviously all the players, but especially, guy who's become such a leader and for New Orleans basketball. And now him with CJ McCollum, I think the -5.5 thing really kind of blew my mind when I saw that odd. And, I thought it would be a little slimmer. Just your first reaction. Again, I know your first reaction. I know you're not a gambling man, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, I'll take the Pels money line because I think the Pels are going to win. Obviously, I'm rooting for the Pels. I'm never going to bet against the Pels in a play-in game, even if it was, some team that was just overpowering. It's more fun if I'm going to throw down $20 or get the free play to cheer for my guys and to cheer for my team, especially at home. But the -5 or -5.5 odd, what's your initial reaction to that?
Well, again, I don't really place wagers, but I follow lines. I think it's a fascinating art to set lines. I would have put the line at more like 3.5. So we're very much on the same page. The Pels clearly should be the favorite, slightly better record, home team. But on the flip side, we took 3 out of 4 on the season series. We've won 10 of the last 13 against you guys, going back the last 4 seasons.
Plus a much more experienced coach. I want you to touch on that.
You took the words out of my mouth. Willie Green, credit to him as a first-year coach. I think he's done a tremendous job, especially with Zion not playing all year. Willie Green, of course, was an assistant for Monty Williams in Phoenix right before this, was an assistant for Steve Kerr, 2 guys that coached for Pop, and Kerr, of course, played for Pop. So, there's still kind of a little bit of that coaching tree going on from Pop down to Willie Green.
Right.
But, of course, Pop set the all-time wins record for regular season wins this season. That was, I think, one of the bigger goals this year for the franchise was to get him to that record. And then we ended up surpassing it by 9 games because we really had a pretty strong run here. We after trading Derek White, a lot of people thought we were kind of mailing it in and punting on the season. But I guess the Blazers and the Kings maybe punted a little harder than we did. And, we ended up making the play-in by going above 500 since the deadline. I think Greg Popovich is an X factor in the game. Hopefully he won't get tossed in the second quarter because we're down by 25 already. And I think just he knows and respects the Pelicans franchise. We play you guys 4 times a year, being division rivals, and, has had a big impact and pulse on what's gone on in this league for over a quarter century. And a lot of the guys coaching in this league have indirectly coached for a guy that coached under him or, have played for him, with guys like Steve Kerr, Monty Williams, and Willie Green has learned a little bit from those 2. So, I think Pop knows that it's win or go home. He doesn't have a lot of veterans like we have in the past. McCollum's the true veteran in the game. We have Josh Richardson, who we picked up in that White trade. He's been giving us great minutes off the bench and has really kind of thrived as our vet. But, I would have pegged the line closer to 3 instead of 5.5. I think you still have to expect it to be a very close game. Obviously, I'm going to say that I think the Spurs are going to win, but, going into somebody's building, winner take all, which is a fun format, as you said. I mean, neither of us would even be talking right now if it weren't for this great play-in idea. Expecting to win a winner go home game on the road is tough. And we did play in this game last year against Memphis. We got down 20 points early and actually made a heck of a comeback. I mean, Morant was coming out of his shell last season. Of course, they did beat us by 4 or 6 points. And then, of course, they went on and beat Golden State and made the playoffs. So there's proof you can come out of this 9-10 game and make the playoffs. And, of course, then the prize would be a series against the 64-18 Suns. But you guys, much like we would have a little motivation to maybe knock Kawhi out of the playoffs in the next round. If you guys got to the playoffs, you'd probably want to knock Chris Paul out. So a little motivation for sure.
Deep down inside, I think a lot of us diehard New Orleans basketball fans still admire and respect Chris Paul. I think a lot of us still love him and still have some of his old Hornets jerseys in those Charlotte blue colors or teal colors. But yeah, no, I mean, that would be great just to be in a series, that started with 2 games and came back to New Orleans. I think that'd be big for obviously the organization. And, I want to touch on one thing you said, and obviously good advantage. I mean, we got a sold out crowd in the Blender tonight, and that's not typical. This is his first city. But that I really think, and I'm biased, but I have props to not only Pro Pels Talk guys, but the Pels 12 on Twitter and the people who absolutely just cover the Pelicans and do these Twitter spaces and these things to promote, the Pelicans. And it's guys like, and I want to touch on 2 of your guys that had good games against the Warriors, but it's guys like Grand Theft Alvarado, who bring the culture of the city and the culture of the team. He is absolutely the lifeline and the light switch that turns on for our team. And then the fact that CJ McCollum is coming here and about to buy a house and settle in for good. And, there's jokes that Damian Lillard might come here, which would be absolutely insane, but I don't know if we have the budget for that. But I mean, just in general, the life and energy that Jose Alvarado brings, along with again, the podcasters, the Pro Pels Talk guys, I think is a true testament to the fact that we do have a sold out crowd, and we got people who are coming in town from Baton Rouge and all over the state just to witness this game, and who are taking off work early and already starting the pregame. So I think a big factor tonight.
It's going to be a late night, 8:30 tip, a little later than normal, but fun to be on national TV. Obviously, if the game was here instead, I would be going down there tonight. There's nothing better than live basketball. NBA games are so fun, and winner take all is going to be cool. I'm glad you made a Jose Alvarado reference. I mean, he's one of my favorite Pels. He's just, I love his hustle, and he's a guy that can get a steal on any possession at any time. So, I think it'll be a really fun matchup. Glad that some folks out there will get to see the Spurs on national TV tonight, and we've had a really good season. I think we've probably overachieved a little bit, and coaching always helps, but we've had a lot of young guys step up and really develop and improve throughout the year. So really excited to see what happens here in about 4 hours.
No question. And speaking of Jose Alvarado and guys that we have on the bench, like Willie Hernan-Gomez and guys who can make an impact, Garrett Temple, some guys on the Pels, when we were watching that Warriors game together, obviously y'all have sitting of y'all starters?
Yeah, so we sat DeJounte Murray, Keldon Johnson, Jakob Poeltl, and Devin Vassell that night. So we only had one of our traditional starting five.
Well, I want you to touch on what I'm getting at is I want you to touch on your leading scorers that are going to be coming off the bench if they're going to get playing time, whether it's first half playing time or second half playing time. Ronnie Walker, shooting guard, who put up 24 points against the Warriors, and then Trey Jones, who put up 15. Talk about these guys and the impact that they can make, to come in and give Murray a little rest at any point if he even needs it, but also just to add kind of a different element to the offense. And what do they bring that maybe Pelicans fans might not know about?
Yeah, I mean, Trey Jones has been awesome as our backup point guard since Derek White got traded. Much like you guys got Herb Jones as a second-round steal, we got Trey Jones last year, mid-second round. Mm-hmm. And, he's the brother of Tyus Jones, who plays for the Grizzlies. He was coached in college by Coach K, and now he's getting coached by Pop. I mean, that's pretty good coaching at the college and pro level, and he's just got high IQ. He's got a really good floater, passes the ball well. And he's been giving us 15, 20 good bench minutes as point guard. And then Lonnie is in his fourth year here and, has gradually increased his scoring. I mean, he's a dead-eye shooter. He's never afraid to take a shot. And he's probably one of the bigger X factors in the game. I mean, if we get 15 to 20 out of him, I think we're pretty tough to beat. But he runs hot and cold. And then we've picked up Josh Richardson. I know I mentioned him briefly earlier, but, he'll be one of our key first players off the bench. Picked him up from the Celtics. He's shooting like 40% from three this year, just like Keldon Johnson is. And then I think we have two bigs that might come off the bench, definitely Zach Collins. And then we have Jock Landale, who, got that bronze medal with Australia in Tokyo last summer, along with former Spur Patty Mills. And, Landale's he's kind of been off and on with injuries this year, but has provided some good minutes and is a center that can stretch the floor like Valanciunas and hit some threes. So, we have some depth. I don't know if Landale will get minutes, but I think Pop will either, run a 9 or maybe 10-man rotation if Jock Landale plays. And I think we'll just see what happens. I think, obviously you all have the biggest star in the game with McCollum, and then Ingram and Murray are both big stars in their own right. And then it'll just be really interesting. I think the Jackson Hayes is the X factor for you all. Yep. And then I'd say Lonnie Walker's probably our X factor. That's kind of how I see it. So
Lonnie Walker seems like a cool guy. I'm not going to lie.
He is. He was hanging around. We have something called Fiesta here, and there was pictures of him on the Spurs Twitter. He was milling around at the parades last week. It's kind of like a Mardi Gras type thing we do here in San Antonio. And he was just out embracing the city and the culture and the community, which is cool to see. So,
Viva Fiesta, baby. Viva Fiesta.
There we go.
Looking to close out here, and thanks so much to Jim Love from San Antonio. He will be cheering for the Spurs tonight, but just a lot of good insight, things that I didn't know about this team and things to watch out for. So I think think everybody's got kind of a good idea of the game we're all looking forward to tonight. But I also like your point about Jackson Hayes being the X factor, and I think that down low and how the fouls are called, what kind of physicality the refs are going to allow down low. We obviously have a lot of talent to look at from the perimeter and the guard play on both sides of the ball. So again, I'm with you that Jackson Hayes and the Spurs, the Spurs forward play is going to be key. So let's look at some player props to close out tonight. I know you're not going to place any bets tonight, Jim. You don't gamble, but
I stick with the ponies. But we got the Derby coming up in 3 weeks, so
exactly, and we're gonna have to get you back. But first glance, CJ over under 6.5 points.
What was that? 26.5? You said.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take the under.
You bastard. Keldon Johnson over under 20.5 points.
Over 9 straight games over 20. I think he'll keep the streak going.
All right. DeJounte Murray over under 23.5 points.
I'll take the under there. I think for us to be successful, he's going to have to be more the distributor than the scorer tonight.
With that being said, CJ McCollum over under 5.5 assists.
Over. I think he's going to feed Valanciunas. I think Jonas will have a good game for you guys.
And then here's the big one, which I think is really a deciding factor because, I think he's going to have at least 2 threes. So I did place a bet on Brandon Ingram over 1.5 threes, but just looking at total points, not that, him beating this, completing this bet for anybody who bets on it's going to make a difference. But I think when Brandon Ingram has under 20 points, the Pels typically do not win the game. And right now the line for over under points for BI is 23.5. Realistically, what are your thoughts?
He tends to have a tough time playing us, so I would go under there. Okay. I think McCollum's going to be very close to the 26.5. I think Ingram will be a few points under it, close, 3 or 4 points under that. Okay. I still think Valanciunas is going to give us some trouble as he did last time. And, Hayes to me is where the game's going to be won or lost for you all. I really think it's the bigs. I think your 2 stars are going to score in the low 20s to mid 20s, but I would take slightly under 23.5 for Brandon Ingram as well.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a guy that I think is going to go over for the Spurs and to close out with your big man, Jakob Poeltl, the center, the big fella. 12.5 points is the line. I think he's going to have between 14 and 16 tonight. But I actually agree with you that I don't think Murray is going to have that 23.5 cover. So thoughts on to close out Jakob Poeltl and what you think about that matchup with Valanciunas or Jackson Hayes, whoever may be guarding him down low.
He got into early foul trouble with Valanciunas last game that I saw here in town, and just when he has to stretch the floor, it seems to wear him down a little bit.
Right.
So I do agree he'll get his 14 or 16 points. I think that's a pretty accurate guess, but I think Valanciunas will outscore him for the game for sure.
Okay. Well, Helm Paint is one of our sponsors, and I think Helm Paint is going to like what they see from CJ McCollum tonight because I'm betting over 3.5 threes on CJ McBuckets, an absolute certified bucket, and he's going to be painting the corners tonight. Bear Law is one of our sponsors. We already talked about the hair and the flow of quite a few players on the Pelicans and the Spurs. They're going to be wearing their arm sleeves, wearing their best jerseys, and bringing out a lot of style and a lot of class, I think, for both of these teams, not just appearance-wise, but basketball-wise and physicality-wise. As we discussed, down low play is going to be a key factor. Look out for Jackson Hayes tonight. Look out for Jakob Pertl and some of these guys coming off the bench, like Ronnie Walker and Trey Jones for the Spurs, and Josh Richardson, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm excited, man. I'm looking forward to a great game in the blender. And Jim Love from San Antonio, thanks so much for joining us, my friend.
Hey, thank you. Cheers. Go Spurs, go, and may the best team win.
He's Jim Love. I'm Jack Colada, and this is Talk Colada, where we talk a lot of sports. And we are signing out. Won't bow down. Go Pels. Peace, brother.
Peace.